I want to be honest about why I bought it. Not the version I told my sister, which was that Dad worked 30 years and deserved something good. Not the version I told myself for the first few weeks of planning, which was that it was just a gift, just a thing, no weight attached. The real reason is simpler and harder to say out loud. I thought it might work. I had been trying to reach my father, Thomas Calloway, since I was approximately 9 years old. Not reach him like contact, I could always find him. Reach him like get through. Like say something or do something that would make him look at me the way I watched him look at Marcus Webb's father at Little League, that easy nod of recognition one man gives another when he sees something worth seeing. I never got that look. I spent a long time trying to figure out what Marcus Webb had, that I didn't, and eventually I grew up enough to understand the answer was nothing. Marcus's father just knew how to give it. Mine didn't. But I kept trying. Different doors. Different versions of the same reaching, and when Dad announced his retirement in January, something in me said, this one. This is the door. I know how that sounds now. The car was a 4-year-old luxury SUV, dark gray, clean interior. The kind of vehicle that says, you've arrived without shouting it. I spent 3 weeks finding the right one. I had it detailed. I put a bow on it, which in retrospect was too much. But I was trying. I placed one thing in the glove box, a photograph of my mother, Margaret, taken at their 25th anniversary dinner. She's laughing in it. She looks like herself. She died 6 years ago. Dad kept no photos of her visible in the house. I never understood that. I understood it was grief, but I never understood the specific shape of it, the way he seemed to grieve by erasing evidence rather than holding it. I thought he might want one back. I thought the car, the photo, the gesture, all of it together might be the door. The retirement dinner was at my Uncle Raymond's house, 14 people around 2 pushed-together tables. My sister Claire had flown in from Portland. My cousin Beth brought her kids. It was the kind of family gathering that feels warm from the outside and slightly pressurized from the inside, all those people performing closeness with varying degrees of success. Dad was in good spirits, which for him means he was talking. He held court the way he always does. Opinions about everything, delivered like verdicts. I sat across from him. I watched him be the version of himself that other people find charming, and I thought, tonight. After dinner, the driveway, we ate. Raymond gave a toast. Claire gave a toast. I gave one, short, genuine. I said Dad had worked hard his whole life and deserved to rest. I meant it. Then Dad stood up. He raised his glass and he smiled, and he said, I want to drink to my son Owen, who thinks that if he buys me an expensive enough car, I'll finally respect him. 34 years old and still trying to buy his way into the family. It's a little funny, actually. He said it lightly. That's what I keep coming back to. Not cruelty with edges, casual cruelty, the kind that's been so long in the making that it comes out smooth. Mikey been thinking it and just hadn't found the right occasion. The table went silent. 14 people and none of them made a sound. I saw Claire's face go white. I saw Raymond look at his plate. I saw Beth pull one of her kids slightly closer, as though proximity might protect them from what was happening. I sat with it for 3 seconds. I counted them. 1, 2, 3. I picked up the car key from beside my plate. I folded my napkin. I stood up and I walked out. I drove his retirement gift home. That drive is hard to explain. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. I wasn't doing the thing people do in movies where they grip the wheel and stare into the middle distance and have a revelation. I was just tired. Deeply, specifically tired. The way you get when you've been carrying something at arm's length for a very long time and you finally set it on the floor. I kept thinking about my mother. She used to apologize for him without words. A look across the room when he said something that landed wrong. A hand on my shoulder afterward, in the kitchen when he'd already moved on. She never said your father doesn't mean it because she was too honest for that. She just let me know she'd seen it. That witnessing, that small, consistent act of seeing me, was something I didn't understand the value of until it was gone. I parked in my driveway. I sat in the car for a while. I thought, am I doing this because it's right? Or because I'm hurt? I didn't have a clean answer. Both things were true, and they were braided together in a way I couldn't separate. The hurt was real. The decision also felt real. I wasn't sure those two things canceled each other out. I went inside. I didn't sleep well. My phone was full by morning. 11 missed calls from numbers I recognized. Raymond, Beth, my cousin Derek. 2 from Claire. 9 from a number that took me a moment to place as the landline at my father's house, which I didn't know he still used. Claire's texts came in a sequence. First, Owen, where did you go? Then, Dad is embarrassed, I think. Then, an hour later at 11 p.m., Dad's not doing well. You should know. I read that last one 3 times. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know if she meant emotionally, physically, or if she was relaying something he'd said about himself. With my father, those categories don't sort easily. He is not a man who announces weakness, so when it leaks out, it comes in translation. I made coffee. I sat at my kitchen table. Outside, the gray SUV sat in my driveway in the early light, and I thought about what I was going to do with it. I had no idea. Sell it maybe, keep it maybe. The bow was gone. I'd taken it off the night before, folded it, put it in the recycling bin in a way that felt significant and probably wasn't. I was on my second cup when I heard the truck. I knew the sound of it before I looked up, that particular engine, the specific rattle it developed. 2 winters ago the Dad kept saying he'd fix. I heard it slow down on the street. I heard it stop. I went to the window. His truck was parked across from my driveway. He was in it, just sitting, engine off. I could see the shape of him through the windshield, big shoulders, head slightly forward, the posture of a man in the middle of deciding something. I watched him sit there for a long time. 40 minutes, maybe more. I made more coffee. I checked my phone. I came back to the window and he was still there. I don't know what that 40 minutes was for him. I have thought about it since, and I still don't know. Maybe he was rehearsing something. Maybe he was waiting for me to come out, so he didn't have to walk up. Maybe he just needed that long to get from the truck to the door. Some distances are longer than they look. He knocked. I waited a moment. Then I opened it. He looked like my father and also like someone who had not slept. He was holding something. He had it at his side, slightly awkward, the way you hold something you're not sure you should have brought. I saw what it was before he held it out. The photograph, from the glove box. He had gone back to the car, at some point last night or this morning, and he had taken the photograph of my mother. He held it toward me and he said, "I found this." I said, "I know, I put it there." He looked at me. Something moved through his face that I don't have an exact word for, not remorse. Or not only remorse, something older than that. Something that had been sitting in him for 6 years and maybe longer. He said, "She would have." And then he stopped. He didn't finish the sentence. I don't know what word was going to come after would have. Hated it. Been embarrassed. Been disappointed. I have my guesses. I didn't ask him to finish it because I'm not sure he could have. What he said instead after a long pause was, "That was a stupid thing to say at dinner." Not "I'm sorry," not "I was wrong," just "that was a stupid thing to say." Thomas Calloway standing on my porch at 7 in the morning with my mother's photo, delivering the smallest possible version of an acknowledgement. It was not enough. I want to be clear about that. It was not enough, and some part of me had been hoping for more, had been hoping that the photo and the early morning and the 40 minutes in the truck would add up to something fuller. They didn't. He is who he is. He has always been who he is, and one bad night followed by one uncomfortable morning doesn't change the architecture of a person. But I also saw him standing there. I also saw the photo. I said, "Do you want coffee?" It wasn't forgiveness. It was just coffee. I want to be accurate about the difference. He came in. He sat at my kitchen table in the same chair my mother used to sit in, which I noticed and didn't say anything about. I poured him a cup. We didn't talk much. He looked at the photo once, set it face up on the table between us. After about 20 minutes he said he should get going. I nodded. He stood, and he looked at the SUV through the window, and he said, "What are you going to do with it?" I said, "I don't know yet." He nodded. He picked up his keys. He left. I stood at the door and watched him get in his truck and drive away. And I thought about all the years of trying different doors, and I thought about my mother's particular way of witnessing, and I thought about what Claire had meant by not doing well, and whether that was going to matter, and whether I was going to let it matter, and what the difference was between those two things. I didn't have clean answers to any of it. The photo is on my counter now. I moved it there after he left, out of the glove box, out of his hands, into my house. It feels right there. She's laughing in it. She looks like herself. The car is still in the driveway. I'll figure out what to do with it. Not today. Today I'm just gonna let things be what they are, unfinished, inconclusive, mine. My father is a man with a long distance between who he is and who he could have been, and I've spent 34 years standing at that distance, hoping it would close. Maybe it won't. Maybe the 40 minutes in the truck and the photograph and the coffee are the closest it gets. I don't know yet if that's enough for me. But I know something I didn't know before I walked out of that dinner with the key in my hand. I know I tried. I know the shape of what I offered, and I know I meant it, and that, separate from what he did with it, separate from whether he ever learns how to receive anything, belongs to me. That's mine. He doesn't get to make it stupid. He never did.